Hi, Dave.
Hi, Daniel.
First of all, how's Richard feeling right now? Do you have any idea?
Well, he's lying in the change room with a bunch of ice strapped to his ankle, so I think it's a little too early to assess the real damage, but obviously we're not too happy about the fact that he's not in a great space at the moment for bowling at the moment, so we'll just see. We'll have to monitor it over the next day or so.
Are you disappointed Zimbabwe, the umpires didn't have you guys come off earlier?
Oh, look, I understand the need to try and get these games for the public and for everybody else and the TV people watching. I understand the need for us to try and play in slightly inclement weather to try and get a result, but I thought we overstepped that mark in this game, and I thought there was probably 4 or 5 overs we should have come off. I don't think we should have even bowled a ball, to be fair, but the umpires are the guys making those decisions out in the middle, and they seem to think it was fit to play, and I disagree with them, but there's not much I can do off the field.
Sorry, one last one. Do you think if the situation was reversed and South Africa had been bowling, do you think there's a greater chance that they'd have come off rather than you guys bowling?
No, I'm not going to answer that one, thanks.
Yes, I'll pass it.
So, David, if I can just clarify, would you confirm that you thought that the conditions were unsafe?
Look, I thought the rain had got so heavy at one stage it was ridiculous. I mean, it was, for most of the most of the evening, night time, it was misty, sort of mizzle and stuff. But it got to the stage where we could actually hear it thumping on the rooftop in the dugout, and that, to me, that's no longer mizzle and drizzle. That's time to get off the field. And the field was wet. It was wet when we started. It was wet when South Africa fielded. So there were difficult conditions for both sides. But it just got more and more wet as we bowled. And, when your keeper's sliding, trying to move down the leg side, standing up to the spinners, it's too wet. I don't think the conditions were right to carry on playing.
In terms of the game itself, winning the toss and deciding to bat when there was a bit of weather around, what was the thinking behind that decision, do you think?
Well, it's our preferred way of playing the game, and we weren't sure exactly what sort of weather we would get, so we were hoping we'd get our batting innings in before any rain arrived. We felt we'd be better off if we'd actually got a score on the board and tried to defend it, which is always our preferred way of playing. I mean, it's amazing. We've played 4 games here, and 3 times we wanted to do different things, and we'd lost the toss each time. And today, which we really didn't mind what we did, we ended up winning a toss and had to make a decision. And then the game suddenly gets curtailed before we face the ball. So it's just one of those things. There's lots of learning in a game like this for us. I believe, even though we've had our status for a long time and we've been in a lot of competitions and a few World Cups and that, this side is starting to mature quite nicely, and there's learning in every game for us. And we came out for that batting and we weren't calm, we weren't composed. We swiped and swung and we ran badly between the wickets, and it took a couple of youngsters at the end to show the rest of the guys how to remain calm and play well.
So what other learnings do you think you could take from that discard of the farcical situation in the field, but from the bat?
Well, I just think it is that ability to stay calm and play your best shots. I thought watching Quinton play was a real lesson for our guys about how to stay calm and still be able to smack the ball around the place. I thought we thrashed at the ball too much up front and we didn't get anywhere near hitting them. So that's the biggest piece of learning for me today.
Circle back to Daniel, and then we'll go on to our Zoom audience. Thank you.
Hey, just one final question. Could you shed some light on what conversations the umpires and the Zimbabwean players had at that point? Because a couple of times it seemed like you might definitely come off, and there was a bit of a back and forth between the umpires and the bowlers, but then that didn't happen. So do you know what happened there?
Oh, I know that Craig and Raza had a word with the umpire and said, basically just asked, what do you constitute as rain? Because we're getting quite wet here. I don't really know much else. I didn't ask them what the actual conversations were, but I think eventually Sean Williams said, just as he was about to start bowling, that he didn't think he could bowl. It's too wet. And they brought us off.
Thank you very much to our audience here at the stadium. We'll move on to Firdaus Munda. You can kick us off.
Thanks. Hi, Dave.
Hi.
Just asking about just the communication perspective, when was there communication? Because you talked to the umpires before the match was reduced, and then at some point in the middle, and then after you went back on, or is there a sequence of events you can describe for us?
It wasn't a lot of talking from me. I asked the question of the third umpire as to why we'd gone back on when it was raining, and he said that was up to the umpires in the middle to make that decision. And other than that, we were just communicated with, how many overs were left and what the target was now and so on. And after the first time we came off, when they reduced it to 7 overs, there was a bit of a delay because no one seemed to know what the target was. But there wasn't a lot of communication between us.